Yeah. And then when you plug it in, it sounds just like a straight bass. That's right. Awesome.
Hey guys, we're gonna get started in a minute. Feel free to take out your acoustic guitars if you don't have a bass. There are a bunch of basses scattered throughout the room. We'll talk house rules in a bit, because everyone's gonna play bass today. That's very important. But if you don't have one in your hands right now, please use an acoustic guitar. Wow, there's some nice basses here.
Can I see your hand? Rolling? No, that's cool. Yeah, so I got that. It's about 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Stacked up for 5,
Yeah, sorry guys, I hate to do that, but we're gonna get started. It's about 10:45. It's about that time. How's everyone doing today? Everyone's having a good morning? I don't know about you guys, but I felt like this morning was really fast paced. So I want to slow it down. 9 a.m. start into like 15 minutes in between sessions to get here. So I thought we'd warm up with a nice slow groove. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a call and response, just rhythm, do 2 measures of me and 2 measures of you. Now there's only 3 things you need to know to enjoy this warm-up. 1, and I've actually already given you too much information. You don't even need to know that we're playing open E. You don't need to know the note is E. All you need to know is that we're playing this big, thick, fat string, the one closest to our nose, not our toes. Okay, everyone just play that note. Let it ring loud and proud one more time. All that bass, right? Awesome. 2, alright, so that's 1. That's the one thing you needed to know. Thick string closest to our nose, not our toes. 2, everyone put your hands in here, just like this, okay? And take your left hand, you're going to say bye, because we don't need it for this jam. We'll warm that hand up later. With our right hand, make a peace sign or bunny ears, wherever you like, wiggle them around a little bit. We're primarily going to use these fingers to articulate the notes. However, if you're not into peace or bunnies, you can use a pick. That's perfectly acceptable too. And I'm joking, you can use a pick if you just prefer it, that's fine. And I will also say, in the beginning, it's not so much about what's right or proper or traditional, it's really what's about what's accessible, right, in the beginning. So if using these 2 fingers or a pick isn't your speed, you can use 1 finger, you can use your thumb. It's all about accessibility when you're starting out, so whatever you guys are comfortable with. And the third thing, and you guys probably know this already, you're at Rockfest, but this is a safe place, so if you have a question, feel free to throw your hand up, or just shout out my name. As I like to say when I teach people bass, like if you're gonna make a mistake, make it big. Make it loud and proud, because then they're easier to identify and address. If you ever had that kind of timid student who's holding back, it's almost harder to address the problem. So if you're gonna mess up, make it loud and proud, and we'll figure it out and address all the concerns. Okay, so here we go. I'll count us in, but first, just listen to the groove and internalize it a little bit. So again, listen to the drums. Really internalize the groove. Ask yourself, how can I fit into this groove? You almost want to hear the bass in your head before you play. We'll do 2 measures of me, and then 2 measures of you. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, me, then you. big takeaways from that little exercise, and they are, well, there's many takeaways, but these are the three that I look towards. One, warming up. Warming up is super important when you play any instrument, of course, in any musical moment, rehearsal, practice, performance, but especially the electric bass or bass, because this is a big physical instrument, right? I mean, especially compared to guitar, we're dealing with thicker strings. There's more of a stretch involved. I know we didn't warm this hand up yet, but we're getting there. So warming up was the first takeaway, and it's important that we start with that. And I like to stretch a little. I like this one a lot. Just you want to loosen up, you know, really shake it out. You want to be loose when you play bass. Two, rhythm. We play in the rhythm section. We are a rhythm instrument. So the focus of that obviously was on rhythm, right? We didn't play any other notes, just that, again, that low E, closest to our nose, not our toes. And again, being a rhythm instrument, that's where our focus is going to lie in almost everything we do today. And three, to contrast rhythm, was roots, or in this case, just root, right? We were just playing one note, E, the whole time, which was, of course, the key of the backing track. And actually, if you had your listening ears on this morning, there were a few changes there. There was a moment we went to A, but we didn't have to. We were just pedaling on E. It sounded great. So this is a nice little scaffolding warm-up. You can just chill on E the whole time. You can use your ear and follow the changes. Either way, the focus here is rhythm and just loosening up, right? All right, so now that we've warmed up a little bit, I want to do a more, proper introduction. So, hello, my name is Mike. I'm the Training Operations Manager at Little Kids Rock. Welcome to BASSically for Beginners. I see a few familiar faces. Thanks for joining us again. For those of you who are new, welcome. Yeah, there we go. So I actually, when teaching anything, I think context is really important. So I like to open with the following question. Does anybody know how old the electric bass is? I asked this last year. Maybe some of you remember, maybe some of you don't. Any guesses? Any ideas? You had to? No?
70 years old.
50, 75 years old. I'm thinking 250.
These are all very good guesses. Again, good guesses. Again, context is important. So I know nobody's here for a history lesson, but the electric bass, it began mass production in the year 1951. Leo Fender, he said, I'm going to bring the bass to the people. And so he did. And why is that? What does that tell us? That tells us two things. One, if my math is right, it tells us the bass is about 66 years old. And two, it tells us this is a really young instrument, right? Put this next to piano or even guitar, and you realize this instrument is very much a baby or maybe entering its infancy. It's so young, but it's come a long way, but still has a long way to go. Perhaps more interesting than how young it is the following. So I read up recently, and I don't know how accurate this is, but you know, the bass transcends the spectrum of genres. Name a genre, and there's probably a bass somewhere in the band, right? And roughly, according to what I've read, 85 to 95% of recordings that we hear today have an electric bass on them. That's pretty awesome, right? It's totally ubiquitous, this instrument. It's every genre you can name, it's there. But more interesting than that is that, you know, as a young instrument, it has to go out and make a name for itself, right? You know, it's not fully established yet. A lot of music programs, universities, colleges don't actually have electric bass as a primary instrument to study. And this is changing every day. I have a degree in electric bass. It's out there, but it's a young instrument. So unlike, you know, the trumpet, the oboe, the bassoon, and I love all those instruments too, but they're established. They made a name for themselves. The bass is still doing that. So when you, the teachers, the educators, when you bring this instrument into your classroom, when you expose it to your students, you're a part of its growth, its development, and its young, you know, flowering history. So that's one sort of ulterior reason why we're here today. The main reason why we're here, of course, is, well, A, to improve your groove, B, to explore the electric bass in the context of a modern band, obviously, and then the biggest reason we're here, obviously I'm here to bestow what I know unto you, but that's in the hopes that you can then put it into the hands of your students. That's why we're here. So with that said, let's talk house rules really quickly. I want to talk about this concept. I call it sharing the groove. It actually has three meanings, believe it or not. The first one, though, is, as you can see here, there's only so many basses in the room. I asked for as many as I could get, asked for 30, but this is what I got, and I'm very happy because it's more than last year, so I'll take it. But those of you who don't have a bass in your hand, I see you have your acoustic guitar. As I'm sure most of you know, the four strings of the bass, E, A, D, G are the same 4 strings, those top 4 strings on your guitar. So just keep that in mind. It's totally fine to learn the concepts of the bass on an acoustic guitar. Now, meaning number 2 of sharing the groove is the following. In the context of an ensemble or a musical situation or setting, it is leaving space for your fellow musician, supporting your fellow musician, listening, dynamics, and literally sharing the soundscape that you guys are creating together. So, and this leads into the third definition of sharing the groove, which is, today I would ask that you share the groove, or in this case, the bass. Please share the bass with your neighbors, get to know your neighbors, and if they, you know, if you're playing for a bit, and maybe look at your neighbor and say, hey neighbor, want to play some bass? And if everyone does this somewhat regular intervals, the bass will end up right back in your hands before you know it. It's super important to me that everybody plays bass today. And to further emphasize that, I bring this Batman meme to you because, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with learning the bass on the acoustic guitar. In fact, we encourage it. It's a great scaffolding tool. Maybe your student can't play chords yet, right? Maybe it's tough on their hands, so maybe you just want to teach them single root notes. That's great, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that the bass and the guitar are very different instruments in terms of their feel, their function, their approach, and even their physical characteristics. They might look similar, but again, thicker strings, bigger stretches, so just keep that in mind. And the stretch of an analogy I'll make, and I admit it's a stretch, but imagine going to like an xylophone seminar or workshop, and you get there, you're expecting to play and learn xylophone, but then you get put on piano. Like the notes are there, they're the same, but again, the feel, the function, the approach, the physical attributes, they're all different. So just keep that in mind, and please make sure you play some bass today. Feel free to poke your neighbor if you haven't gotten to play in a bit. I don't want to do a whole like rotate system. I trust you guys. As bass players, our ultimate role is to be supportive. So I'd ask that you support your neighbor and press the bass, share the groove. Cool. So now that we've talked for a while, let's play some music. That's basically the most talking. I wanted to get it all out of the way. So of course we are at Rock Fest. So we're going to start with some rock. And I will say this really briefly before we really start. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about technique today because we have 90 short minutes together, and technique comes with time, and time just isn't something we have today. So I will just say this, and we already went over it, right? Peace sign or bunny ears or a pick. Some bass players are very opinionated about this. I think picks are great. I use fingers and pick. Paul McCartney used a pick, and he turned out all right. So, right? So use whatever you're comfortable with. If you are using your fingers, I do want to add. Actually, I know we started with bunny ears and piece. I would add the thumb though here and anchor it. Think of your thumb as like a pivot or an anchor. I know you guys on acoustic can't really do that. Throw it on your pickup and look, check this out. Again, it's like a pivot point. You can reach every string very comfortably with your fingers dangling down from there. So try to anchor that thumb onto your pickup. All right, so let's tackle this nice little easy warm-up jam, one measure at a time. Now we are going to involve this sound. So everyone just take your first finger on that big fat low E string closest to our nose. Count up 1, 2, 3. Everyone's on the 3rd fret, right? Okay, now let's just play the first measure. We'll loop it, just 8 notes on G. Ready? 1 and 2 and 8's on G. Alright, you guys get that? Again, it's basically for beginners, so we're going to start with the basics. Now let's play the second measure, which is essentially the same thing, except on the and of beat 3, there's a little walk up, right? So it's going to sound 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Maybe I'll try just the second measure, and we'll loop it. Ready? Just the second measure. 1, 2, ready, play. Song, some of you may remember from last year. Tony, would you actually be able to give us just a little backbeat?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, so you guys will recognize the song. I know the bass line might not pop out to you, be like, oh, of course I know that song, because we're just thumping away on G. But I think you will recognize it in a moment. So let's do both measures, so just keep looping them, all right? Ready, guys? Not too fast. Let's do 1 and 2 and ready, play. that promo is because it actually, believe it or not, it looks very simple, and many of the greatest bass lines are, but it perfectly captures, in my opinion, the actual role and function of the bass, which, who could tell me what that is? What's the role, what's the function of the bass? Foundation? Rhythm? Time?
It's the
Absolutely.
tuba of a rock band.
Yeah, totally. The sort of simple way I like to put it is as follows. I like to think of it like this. The bass takes the rhythm and the harmony and it marries them together. And the little asterisk I'd add to that is that it does so through the low end, through low frequencies, through that depth that every song so very much deserves. That's the role and function of the bass. Rhythm and harmony, bringing them together. That's what we're here to do. So, now that we've rocked out a little bit, let's pop out, right? Played a rock song, let's play some pop. So, before we were playing one song, you're good now, by the way, drummers are your best friends, so for today, Tony is all of our collective best friend.
Every day.
He'll be back, he'll be back. We love Tony. So we're gonna play some pop now, guys. Remember to share the group. So before we were playing G, so we all know where G is, right? 1, 2, 3 on the big fatty string. Now I would ask, last time a lot of us were using our index finger for the G, but actually if we put our middle finger on G, does everyone see where we're at? Big fat string. Put our middle finger on G. Our index finger will naturally land on the other note we need to play, which is B, right? We put our middle finger on that 3rd fret, that's G, and our index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, that's B. So we have G, we're going to G, right? We're going to play that note. Now everyone can get B. Everyone sees where we are, okay? And now you all know D, because that's just the open string. You never heard D. Excellent. So those are the 3 notes we're going to need for this next jam. And below there, I have 3 just recommended rhythms, but you guys are the bass players. You can play whatever you want. But I will say this, the bass is an energy instrument, right? Because we're a rhythm instrument. We drive the song. So, during the intro, I'd recommend you play half notes. During the verse, I'd recommend you play quarter notes. And during the chorus, I'd recommend you play 8 notes. But do whatever's comfortable to you. If 8s are a little quick, hang back. You can also play whole notes if you want. You guys are the bass players, you decide. And I'll shout it out, but we are going to play along with this track, a Taylor Swift track. We all love Taylor Swift here. And it actually starts on the B. So everyone gets situated. Again, middle finger on that G, your index will land right on that B naturally. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I wanted to give you the authentic bass player experience. So I didn't give you a bass chart, I just gave you a lead sheet, or really for the guitar. That's often as bass players, that's what we're handed. No one's handing us, custom, here's the bass part unless we're doing musical theater or something. Typically, you're just gonna get a lead sheet. So as long as you know where those 3 notes are, you're gonna do fine. I'll count us in, and again, intro, half notes, verse, quarter. During the chorus, we'll go into 8s. There is a pre-chorus, and I would ask that, and I'll cue this, that we all back out during the pre-chorus, and we'll talk about why we're gonna do that. All right? So I'll count us in. You don't have to come in right away. Hopefully this works. It didn't work earlier. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Let's play some half notes on B. Ready? 2, 3, B. on D. Ready? 2, ready, 3. First jam we did was just one root. This was multiple roots. That's often what we're doing as bass players. But I do want to emphasize at this point, space makes the bass. This is something that just sort of happened last year at Rockfest. I just sort of blurted it out and seemed to catch on a lot. Did you guys notice when we backed off during the pre-chorus how we sort of absorbed all the musical energy in the song there? It was like a vacuum, right? We took it all away into a little bubble, and then we just let it explode back into the chorus. I would highly recommend when you are teaching your students how to play bass, encourage them to leave space. It's like that, I'm totally paraphrasing this, I think it's a Miles Davis quote. It's not the notes you do play, but the ones you don't play. And silence in itself is a note, and a very important one. So, especially with rhythm instruments, because we're driving the song, right? So again, space makes the bass, keep it in mind. It's a really important concept. So, with that said, I want to bring my good friend Victor Wooten up to the slide right now. I just want us to keep this in mind. The few songs we've played so far have really been kind of warm-ups, but now, as we move forward, we're going to start adding more notes to our bass lines, and we'll always have a way to scaffold it down if it's too challenging, but never lose the groove to find a note. Rhythm, in my opinion, will always take precedence over harmony as a rhythm instrument, right? So if you have to choose one or the other, I'd say rhythm. Try to stay in rhythm, and just if you're just playing roots, you really can't go wrong. So keep that in mind as we move forward, as we add some more notes to our bass lines, and as things get maybe slightly more complex. But before that, real quick, I want to talk about repetition, which is another important concept surrounding bass playing. Humans in general don't tend to enjoy repetition, right? We don't like repeating ourselves over and over and over again. But bass players do. Because what does repetition do? It kind of anchors the song, again, rhythmically and harmonically. How many great songs can you think of that just have a repeating bass line over and over and over again? So many. And do you ever say to yourself when you hear a repetitive bass line, you're never like, oh my gosh, I wish the bass would stop repeating itself, that's so annoying. No, of course not. You're like, that's what's making you bob your head, right? That's what's, putting the groove, laying it down, getting in the pocket. So to showcase that a little bit, I'll play this old school song. I'm sure you guys, this is just a classic. We all love this song. It's higher and higher, man. Listen to this bass line. It just never stops. It just does this the whole time. In fact, to prove that, I love this song. It's not that long. You could listen to the whole thing. I'll skip ahead a little. Later. I just wanted to showcase that it's okay and in fact encouraged to just repeat a bass line over and over and over again. It really, really anchors the song and the groove down. It'll help you land in the pocket. So with that said, we're going to play a more modern song that repeats a bass line over and over again. That's Cake by the Ocean. So I like this. I did this one last year, and I wanted to do a different one, but this one's so good for so many reasons. The one thing I love about this, more so than anything, is, well, one, it's all on that low E string, right? We're going to do it all on that one string. And two, if your hand is in position, you don't need to move at all to play this bass line, which is super cool. Check this out. Watch my hand. Or actually, we can do it together, sort of. You count up on the low E string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get your index finger on the 5th fret, and each finger following hitting the next fret up, right? Index is on 5, your middle's on 6, your ring finger's on 7, and your pinky's on 8. I know it's a stretch for some of you guys, but stretching's good. You have these tiny little muscles in your fingers here, and you need to work them out. But if you're in a position like that, just watch me real closely, real quick. Look how little I have to move to play this bass line. learning a bass line such as this one, I would encourage you guys to start, again, most things are going to start and end with rhythm. I'd encourage you guys to start with the rhythm. So I have it written down here, and as you can see, the rhythm here is 1 and 3 and a 4 and 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 1 and 3. So just internalizing the rhythm is the best way to do it. Speaking it out loud, you know, you want to hear it in your head, say it with your voice. That'll help your students a lot. Now, there's some tricky parts in here. This little 16th note gallop, this little hiccup here, that can be kind of tricky, and there are ways to scaffold it down. But let's just start with the top measure. Let's just work on that one, and we'll take it really slow. Ready? We're gonna do, is everyone in position, right? We got our index fingers on that 5th fret, and then every other finger kind of falls into place naturally. So let's try it real slow all together. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's just loop the top measure. Let's not go to the second one even yet. Let's just do the top one. Ready? 1, 2, just loop the top. Ready? Bass is like the ultimate scaffolding instrument in a lot of ways. Oh, I see someone sharing the groove, thumb up. So if that's tricky, you could just do this. The whole bass line you could really just do. Or you could even simplify it more. You could just do. Or you could even simplify it more and just do. Get rid of this hand, just do. Just focus on the rhythm. There are a million ways to scaffold this bass line, so keep that in mind. If it's a little tricky, the way we're playing it for you right now, try to scaffold it down for yourself. And as a further tool, we're going to play along with the track, and I have it at 3 different speeds. We're going to start very slow, and I will count you guys in. We'll play the whole thing. Although we didn't review, let's do measure 2 isolated for a second, because we didn't do that yet. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So just measure 2. Everyone said first finger on the 5th fret. Just measure 2. We'll loop it. Ready? 1, 2, measure 2. But Scott Burstein, who screens all of our PowerPoints, his one criticism of mine was that it wasn't metal enough. So if you guys could just tell him this was a very metal presentation, even though it's not. There's no metal in this at all. But just if you see, you all know Scott. If you see him, just tell him it was very metal. I'd appreciate it. All right, now we're gonna play along, nice and slow. Ready? I'll cue you guys when to come in. Not yet. Ready, play. We're actually, I'm gonna speed it up a bit. Good question.
Not so much a question, but this helped me tremendously last year because I have super tiny hands for a
I do too.
tall person, and they were like, "Do this."
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh."
Super
and I
helpful.
could reach everything.
Yeah, and it really, I'm glad Catherine brought this up. It's a really good point. The way you hold your bass, I know we didn't review something like that, but it's important whether you're sitting or standing. If you're having trouble with stretches and hands, just leaning your bass up a little bit, and suddenly it's closer to you in proximity. Just something as little as that.
Same with the guitar.
Yeah, guitar too is very similar. So feel free to, if you're keeping it horizontal, or even if you're going that way, you're gonna struggle, right? That's a stretch. So keep it almost tilted a little bit upward, and you'll find reaching a lot easier. So, exactly. So we just played it on the sloth speed of sorts. Let's speed it up a little bit. Ready, guys? I'll cue us when you come in. Not right away. Guitar player space. Let's give it to him. 1, 2, ready, play. Rhythm over harmony. You can't win rhythm. Scaffold it down. It's a pretty fast song, so feel free, again, scaffold as far down as you need to go. It can be as simple as whatever you need to do to maintain the rhythm, right, guys? If you're struggling to hit the notes, then maybe you need to scaffold more, all right? So here it is, at speed. I'll cue you guys when you come in. It's pretty quick. Remember, guys, scaffold it down. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play! This entire bass line and just play, and it'll sound awesome. It's the rhythm that's defining the bass line. The notes they're there, but you don't need them. The rhythm is what you need. And even that, you can just do. Or you can think of a million different ways to scaffold this down, and your kids are gonna feel like they're playing the song. So, with that said, I call this the darker portion of the presentation. Listen, I couldn't imagine a world without bass, music without bass. I just couldn't imagine it. But for the sake of education, I did, and I removed bass from a couple of songs with prominent bass lines, right? So, maybe you're like this guy on the left here. Maybe there's something missing from your life. Maybe it's a bass. Just saying. I'm not a salesman or anything, but maybe you should get bass. But we'd like to be like this goldfish, perhaps, moving on to bigger, better things and feel more fulfilled. So, to showcase this, here's a song you guys may be familiar with. Has a pretty prominent bass line, right? Heard this song before, right? without the bass. Check this out. Pretty empty, right? Suddenly the rhythm and the harmony, and we're lacking that really like minor kind of undertone that the bass line throws in. It just feels empty, right? Missing something, of course. It's kind of chill though. Yeah, a little bit, right? Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. There's always a few of you. You're like, well, you know, Mike, you just picked a song that had a super prominent bass line and you just took it out. So of course it's super noticeable. So the next song, I don't think the bass is quite as in your face, but I think it's still noticeable. And I'd also like to, as a sort of asterisk to the lesson here, listen to the bass drum when we listen to the version without the bass. But first we'll start with the one with, and just listen to the rhythm real carefully. Think of the rhythm. What's the bass playing, right? Just internalize that. Right, so the bass, it's a little less in your face, and there it is, there it is. Now let's listen to it without the bass, but do me a favor and really listen to the bass drum, right? It's important concept here, folks. Check this out. What's it doing? It's essentially lined up with what the bass was playing, right? And that's such a key component to successful bass playing. Not just locking in with the bass drum, but just locking in with your drummer in general. It's okay if you're not perfectly in sync with every little bit, but this song's a good example of that. So while I'd love to work on both of these bass lines with you guys, we're just going to learn Creep for right now, because it is such a good example of locking in with that bass drum, right? So we already know two of these notes. We already learned G and B, right? If you put your middle finger on that third fret on the big low E string, the one closest to your nose, not your toes, excuse me, your nose, not your toes, then your index finger falls right on the B, right? Excellent. Now the only other note that we haven't played yet is C, and that's just a half step up from B. And at the very end, you'll see in that 8th measure, there's a little walk up. Try it if you like. If not, no worries. But let's give it a play along and really listen to the drums and lock in. This file's a little quiet, so sorry if we're overpowering it a bit. I can't make it much louder. But actually, sorry, I jumped the gun. What was just like we did with Cake by the Ocean? The first thing we should do is the rhythm, right? So. Exactly. What's the rhythm here? 1, 3, and 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 1. Just saying it really helps. So now we'll start from the top. Now that we've got the rhythm internalized, right? And I do apologize, there's no count in on this, so I'll try to count us in. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. There you go. Ready for that walk up, guys? I'm sure you guys get that, but like I said before, your drummer's your best friend, so connect him or her, make sure you guys are locking in together. I think the precise example of that is that bass drum is just just follow that rhythm, and you're golden, you're set, you're set great. So, with that said, this is probably the most boring slide on here, but it's super important, so bear with me. I call it intervals for success, even as a boring name, but these are important intervals nonetheless. Whereas I think the guitar is very, chord driven, I think the bass, you could say, is very interval driven. Like knowing your intervals is going to help you in so many ways. And there are obviously many intervals between the notes of the scale, but the two that will help you the most, at least in the beginning, are going to be the fifth and the octave. And I'd like to quote my good friend Gary Heinbauer, who's no longer working at Little Kids Rock, but a great friend and a great educator. We all love Gary. He once said it, and I think he coined it, I don't know, I heard it from him first, but he said, the root and the octave are like twins, and the root and the fifth are like best friends. And it's true, you really can't go wrong with those notes. So we're gonna learn real quick. I have them on the left here in open position, as though you're playing it from one of these open strings. And I also have it here on the right, as though we're playing it in closed position. That being like if we were fretting something. So let's actually start with closed position, because that's what we've been dealing with more so today. And let's learn the octave real quick. Let's do it on C. Ready? So if we go to the second string here, and we count up 1, 2, 3, it's like right below the G we've been playing all day. Okay? Now, everyone's got C, right? Now here's what you're gonna do. Here's the formula. It's very simple. You got your C, you're gonna skip the string that gets you onto this high string right here, and you move up 2 frets. So your octave is simply, right? Does that make sense to everyone? There we are. We skip this string, we move up 2 frets. So there's our octave. Exactly. Everyone get that? Maybe not that, but the octave. Everyone see any questions? Anyone not know the octave? Good, I'm seeing lots of octaves. Excellent. Now the other, Spencer's here. Spencer, welcome. Okay, now that we've got the octave down, let's learn the fifth. The fifth is even easier. The fifth, similar to the octave, a similar formula, except we don't skip the string. So from that C, right, here we are, finger on C, we're going to go down 1 string and over 2 to hit our fifth. Everyone hear that? Everyone got their fifth? Yeah. Anybody struggling to find the fifth, please put your hand next to the I'm struggling. Okay. Are you on the 3rd fret there? There you go, Spencer. Alright. Guys, check this out. We're going to play a Beatles song. It's all fifths. Okay? It might be a little quick because we're actually super fast, right? Fifth for a G, and then a fifth for a C. It kind of goes back and forth. Alright? So, here we go. You guys ready? Play along. It's all fifths. You never have to change the pattern. What you do have to change those two notations. Going from G, right? To C. Okay? So follow along. Before you know it, we will have mastered.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So let's see. Love me do. Love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please, love me do. Alright. So that question, yes?
Yeah, what would be the bad part about taking all those fifth frets and playing them open?
There's nothing bad about it at all, actually. In fact, that might be easier for you and or your student. That's really a matter of preference, or, different open strings are great, but I find sometimes they can can sometimes be intimidating because the pattern is slightly different. But they're important to learn regardless. In fact, I know we didn't go over it, but there they are here, like in open position on the left here. I would highly encourage learning the octave and the fifth on with the open strings. I'm glad you brought that up. It's really important. Some people will find it easier, some people will find it harder. It's really just a matter of preference to them. So, I'm gonna move along in just a moment. Let's see some photos being taken. Okay. So we went over fifths. Now we're gonna go over octaves now. I will say this is the hardest slide on here, without a doubt. And I put it here not to be mean or cruel. I put it here because, you know, I'd like to think a lot of the PowerPoint was pretty accessible. Perhaps up until this point, it does get a little complicated. But I have a few different ways to scaffold this bass line such that I think anyone could play it. And it's funny, if you guys aren't familiar with Flashlight, the original bass line isn't even playing octaves, it's just... Rather than that, I've kind of done a... That's essentially what our goal is, right? Octaves are awesome. There's an energy to them. It's very mobile, right? So the top way is how I normally maybe play the bass line, but these two options down here I think will help a lot. In terms of this one, you're only involving two strings, right? As opposed to the top way where all four strings are involved in that bass line. Likewise, I think space is a great way to get through this bass line by maybe just playing. Just leave some room, right? That can help a lot so you can move, so you can reposition yourself. Like we said earlier, space makes the bass, so leaving some space will really, really help you. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. I have once again divided this into 3 separate speeds. I call them soft, slow, and normal. So we're gonna play the soft one. I'd recommend picking any variation of this as you like. I'm not gonna lie, the really slow one sounds very odd, but I'll cue you guys in. It's kind of fun, it's kind of dancey, but it does sound odd this slowed down. So just wait for it. Just again, this is space right here. Acknowledge it. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. Slightly challenging. It might be a bit ambitious, but let's speed it up a little bit. What do you guys say?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not full speed yet, just a little faster. Alright, ready guys? 1, 2, ready, play! this, and I said I wasn't gonna talk much about technique because again we only have 90 short minutes together, and technique will come with time. But yeah, I recommend when doing the octave, again, peace sign, bunny ears, maybe index finger on the low note and middle finger on the high note, because they can both be there at the same time essentially, so you don't have to move that much. Question.
What software were you using to slow down
To
that
slow this
song?
down, this is simply Audacity. I just
Okay.
bump the MP3 into there and
Yeah.
use that tempo switcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is super helpful. Kids really appreciate the slower tempo, and it's fun too. It's like weird, awkwardly. You saw they were dancing in the
Now, is
back
it
there.
A or O?
It's fun stuff to build.
So on the guitar,
Write that down.
up means on.
Yes.
So using that.
When you do two fingers, it's one for the down and one for the up.
I think that's actually, I'm glad Bill put that up. I certainly think of it that way. Tony?
There's also an app called the Amazing Slow Downer. If you want to use that one
Yeah,
as well.
I highly recommend it. But to Bill's point, yeah, think of your index finger as one and your middle finger as and so on and so forth. And you just go back and forth, back and forth. I know some of you guys are struggling. I know this is so much, but go home, sit down with me for a bit, take it real slowly. And it's fun. It's fun. We love playing this. All right, so here we go. We've learned the fifth. We've learned the octave. Now we are going to combine them, right? So I call this player's choice. You guys can essentially do whatever you want as long as you're hitting the root on one. So I'll show you guys what I mean by that. There's a recommended bass line here on the side, right? And we're going to be using D and B. And we haven't played D here yet, so let's acknowledge that real quickly. On the second string, your A string, walk up to the 5th fret, right? And that's D, closed D. Is everybody there? Good. Okay, now if we're playing the 5th from there, remember it's down 1 string, over 2. And if we want the octave, it's right below that. 1, 5, octave, right? Okay, that's on the D. Now the other one we're going to play the same pattern, but on the B. We played B already, remember? That's the 2nd fret of the A string, okay? Alright, so I want to show you guys how this exercise works. Here's how it works. I would start out maybe playing the recommended bass line here, but then again, it's going to sound a little crazy in here with everyone doing their own thing, but I welcome you and encourage you to play anything you like. So it'll sound something like this. We'll start with the recommended bass line. So real quick, we'll do it all together now. The idea is this, that you could be playing, right, the recommended bass line, and then to the board, you could do... You can do any combination of the 5th and the octave, and it's going to sound good, right? It does, as long as you're hitting the root on 1. So I encourage you guys to deviate away from the suggested bass line and play whatever you want. You don't have to play that. You can play whatever you guys want. So let's play along a little bit. Sorry, it's a little quiet, but that's okay, because we're still going to have fun with it.
This was the way you got to be. Put your hand
exercise works a little better on your own. In a full class, it gets a little chaotic because everyone's doing their own thing, but it works great in little breakout groups. Speaking of which, actually, I guess before we get to that, any questions? Sorry if I've been moving a little quickly, guys.
So, if you're just given some chords to play,
Yes.
you can do root fifth, or root octave. Is there, like if it's more of a rock song, do you want things more of a funk song?
Totally. I mean, octaves are definitely more disco, funk, dancey, techno, whatever you want to say. You can find them in rock though too. There's definitely there's no box of rules, right? There's no limitations. But I would say, yeah, and then of course the fifth. I mean, you might all recognize it more from like country, kind of bumpin, kind of lit. But the fifth is everywhere. Rock, jazz, disco, reggae. As is the octave question.
Do you ever throw chords in, little two-note?
Totally. If this was, again, this is basically for beginners, but absolutely. I mean, two-note chords are beautiful on bass, right? They have a nice. You can also play, note chords. And is anybody going to the Stu Ham session today? Hands? Anybody? Wow. Like you guys, it's gonna be. Stu plays a lot of chords. He's beautiful, rich. Of course, we're not here to learn that, but maybe next year that'll be a session. But chords are awesome on bass. Sometimes they're called double stops. Stuff like that. But that's maybe we'll have a more advanced session next year. But yeah, chords are. Bass is not limited to single notes. To answer your question, you can certainly play chords on the bass. Sometimes they sound good even down here. They're chunky, they're fat, they can be muddy.
Do you do a chord, is it root fifth, or do you third? Or?
Typically root fifth and octave, but man, you can throw thirds. I mean, that's root and octave, root third. And that has a really nice sound to it. You can throw extensions in there. There's no limit. Like anything, any harmonic instrument, played together in certain levels. So, anyway, sorry, got a little off track here. We're gonna do a really quick, because I don't know how much time we have.
About 30 minutes.
30 minutes, awesome. We're gonna do a really quick group breakout thing. I admit we're in a small room, so it's gonna get a little crazy. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna break out into groups of 5 to 6, maybe just the people sitting around you or wherever you guys want. Pick your own groups. You're gonna create your own bass line. You can either take one of the bass lines we worked on today and change up the rhythm or the notes, or you can make up a completely new bass line of your own. I highly recommend keeping it simple and steady, just like a 2 to 4 bar loop, right? And again, think of the things we've talked about today. Space being even and steady, right? Just kind of anchoring the groove down, so nothing too complicated. And then once you guys and your groups, you have your bass line, I'll ask each group to just play their bass line in unison. Hopefully everyone can play a bass for that, but each group should only have one bass or however many basses there are. So does that make sense, guys? Any questions? It's very simple. Just make a bass line, whatever you want, 2 to 4 measures, and then you guys will play them, and maybe we'll have Tony hop up here and lay down a little beat so you can play over it. So go for it. Right. Even if you're not at the front of the room, even if you're scattered all across the room, you're all on a bass. Warm my arm. So guys, Tony is here to lay down a beat if you want. You don't want Tony. If you want to start and then Tony can come in, whatever you guys want.
That's my bass right next to me. Inside of it, you just strap and pull it out.
1, 2, 3, 4.
One,
We're gonna go.
Yeah. I got a bass.
Rock that.
Guys, anyone's welcome to play mine.
Who's ready to rock this bass?
Oh, great.
No, it's all good. You guys are gonna rock the house. Remember, even, steady, patient, supportive. That's being a bass player.
They're so weird.
Now you're up on the side a little. All right, whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, you ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, there you go. Those buttons. One more time. Here we go. Who's up next, guys? Don't be shy. Everyone plays bass today. It's important to me. And you're playing bass.
Yeah. You guys just want to stand with two middle strings?
You guys want to sit?
Down, what do you want to do?
I'm doing the bass.
There you go.
That's the real rock.
I'm gonna do the whole. I'll just stand with two
Whenever you
middle
guys are ready.
Let's do it.
No, I just want everyone to be comfortable and happy. Maybe a little slower. That's it. Yeah. Right? Good. I can tell. You know a lot better. Who's up next? Oh, there's one right there. Elijah's wall.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's now like it's big.
All right. Let's respect our groups.
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nice job, guys. You guys hear that funky note there? It's a little minor 7. Good note to learn. A little extra time, we'll go over that. See who's up next. 48. Welcome to the stage. Got one over here. Oh, there's one.
Yeah, it's one other.
There's one right over there. You guys don't mind making this room right here. You guys ready? Any, who's left? Who do we have? That group in the back? Anybody want to come up here?
Yeah.
Any groups that haven't gone besides this one? This is our last performance. Oh. Good note. All sounded great. Thank you guys. I think that little group exercise is great because it encourages, again, listening to each other, sharing the group, bringing some space, playing steady, even so you sound more like one bass player as opposed to 5 or 6, right? So that's essentially the presentation. Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
If you guys are wondering like next steps or whatever, feel free to email me. I recommend next on the list of things to do is maybe learning like a minor pentatonic scale or something. But yeah, we're not gonna go over this now. We're in major pentatonic and all that stuff. You know, if you heard that one group who was doing that like that note. That's your minor 7. It's just this little box shape. That would be maybe the next thing to do after you learn all the other stuff in this little PowerPoint here. So let me know if you guys guys have any questions, please be brutally honest in the emails. Let me know what I can do to make this better. And thank you guys for joining me today.
You can either leave them in the back or I'll take them out here in the front as well, okay? Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
guys, please submit all emails either to Tony or in the back, whatever you feel.
Sorry.